We are on the same side here, Oak. The bristlebacks threaten us all.
Oh, drop the act. We all know it was the Carja who let the bristlebacks into the valley, sent them straight through the gates of barren light.
That is preposterous. Why would we let dangerous machines into our own land?
You mean the land that honest Osram laborers work tirelessly with no say in its governance? The land that, should you sign the decree...
Oh, you and that damn concession decree.
...would be managed by the people who actually live and work on it.
We have to charge you one.
Proper survey of that. Laughing about it, you got that. Call a few squiggles on a piece of paper on that. Sure.
Yeah, you!
Come on, anyone! Make my day!
Hey.
Hey, Milda. Milda. I took some of your stew last time I went into the wilds. Kept me going for a week. Felt like I could have put a strider in a sleeper hole. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Sounds like you're serving up some impressive provisions here.
Not again. You can have the discount too, but you'll have to come back later.
I think you have me confused with someone else.
Oven didn't send you?
No.
Oh, my apologies. It's just that his minions won't stop pestering me. Now I've even worn out my special grill. Since I'm in the midst of a crisis, perhaps you could skip to what it is you wanted?
Some of your food?
Of course.
Are Ulvin's people causing you problems?
Oh, yeah. They constantly demand my best, but the equipment I need to make my signature dishes isn't built for batch cooking. And don't get me started on the Ulvin discount they feel so entitled to.
And if you refuse?
I make meals, not trouble.
How did you end up in Chainscrape?
Heard about a new and upcoming town at the edge of the frontier. Where there's a town, there's a tavern. I was in need of work. So I got myself out here and started cooking. Some of these people had never tasted proper boars and berries stew before. Anyway, next thing I knew, people kept coming back. Guess they liked my food. Or the ale.
Your last customer mentioned your cooking really kept him going out in the wild. Where I'm headed, I could use some of that.
I would be happy to oblige, especially since you have the decency to ask pleasantly. But my special groove griddle is no more. Without it, I can't cook any of my signature dishes. I hate to think what'll happen when I'm forced to refuse Ulvin or his goons. Even if I already had the right ingredients, there's nothing I can do. Unless you can source me a temporary replacement?
What do you need?
For the ingredients. A few pieces of decent wild meat, and I'd say a big handful of bitter leaf stems. That'll do. As for the griddle, a corrugated metal panel might suffice until I can have a new one forged. You'd likely find one in a scrounger pile, if you follow the river to the northeast. Don't worry, I'll clean it first. You'll have no issue finding boars and bitter leaf on your way. Assuming you're as much a hunter-gatherer as your clothing suggests.
Thanks, Mildef. I'll keep an eye out.
So that's what gratitude sounds like.
And don't let anyone push you around, okay?
If you say so.
Already got enough meat and bitter leaf. Just need to grab a metal panel from the scrounger pile.
It's a Tanaka game, but come to revel in some strike, sister? Let me set the board.
I was just passing by.
First timer, huh? Don't worry about it. I'll go easy on you. You got any pieces?
No.
Well, aren't you in luck then? I got an extra set, a Tanakh original straight out of the Forbidden West. Sit. I'll run you through it in a hot spark. I'll give you something special if you win it on my boards, too. All right, let's start off simple. The Tanakhs like to say that Machine Strike is a game of pure strategy. We each get a set of pieces. Each piece represents a kind of machine, and each machine is worth a different number of victory points. And to win the game, you'll need to gain 7 victory points by destroying the opponent's machines. It can be tricky remembering the details of every machine, so we use these notes to keep track of them. You see that number on the top right corner? That there's how many victory points you'll get for destroying that machine. Notes also tell you how far a piece can move, how powerful their attacks are, the distance they can strike from, and of course, their health. Okay, that's enough for now. Let's just play. I'll explain the rest as we go. I own the board, so I get to choose who goes first. Since this is your first time, I'll let you go. Usually you get to choose which pieces to set on the board, but this will do for now. Pick up that machine piece to your right, and move it forward. And remember, each machine can only move a certain distance. Take a look at your notes if you need a... Easy enough, huh? Now, you get to move 2 machines. Perfect. There's not much else to do for now, so just end your turn. We're forging onwards. Let me move my pieces here. And we're back to you. This time, why don't you try attacking one of my pieces? Try with that machine on your right first. Now move the piece close enough to attack one of my machines. When performing an attack, you'll be testing your machine's combat power. A machine's combat power is a combination of the terrain your machine is standing on and its own attack power. This board only has grassland terrain, which has no effect on a machine's combat power. And your current machine has 2 points of attack power. So in total, your machine's combat power equals 2 points. Since my machine isn't the one attacking, it has 0 points of attack power. And just like your machine, it's not affected by grassland terrain. So right now, the difference in combat power between the 2 machines is 2 points. This means your machine can do 2 points of damage to my machine. Did you get all that? Knew you were a smart one. Finish up by attacking. Not pulling any punches, huh? Now grab that. See how your machine can't move close enough to attack mine? You can make your machine sprint. That lets it move once. Try it out. Downside to sprinting is that your machine can no longer attack. Now, some players like to take a risk and overcharge their machine in cases like this. Overcharging lets you attack after a sprint, but it will damage your machine's health, so use at your own discretion. Let's try doing that now. That's about it for your turn, then. Now, I'll let you in on a neat trick. That machine of yours, the one closest to me, grab a hold of it. Same as in the wilds, machines have both armored points and weak points. You can see them marked on the pieces. Blue shows where their armor is thickest. Hit them there, and you'll do some damage, but not a lot. Now, red shows the machine's weak points. Hit those, and you'll deal a mighty blow. Here, let me show you. Rotate that piece so your machine faces mine. Now let that machine have it. Off the board she goes, and there's your first victory points. You don't have 7 of them yet, so let's keep going. Your machine attacked mine, but hasn't moved yet. Go ahead and move downwards. You've already attacked a machine and moved your piece. But by the look of your machine's health, you'd be sacrificing your piece to defeat mine. But sometime, overcharge your machine to attack mine as... Ain't that a thrill? Now, because your machine was knocked out at the same time as mine, we both get the victory points our machines are worth. Good news is, since you're the one attacking, you're gonna receive your victory points before I do. Which means you can reach the coveted 7 victory points first. That's why sometimes losing a piece can be the best way to end a game in your favor. Now, you'll notice you didn't get quite up to 7 victory points this time, but you did destroy all my pieces. That means you're the winner! That wasn't so hard, was it? Just remember to always check for the best terrain to attack from. You'd be surprised the advantage you can gain over an opponent like that. I know it saved my behind in a game or 2.
I'll try and remember that.
Oh, before I forget, these are all my spare pieces. I want the Savior of Meridian to have them. It's a small set to be sure, but it should be enough to get you in on any strike games you find out there. You might even fancy looking out for them strike carvers. They've got all kinds of unique pieces that can turn a game in your favor, though they'll need the right materials to craft you one. Or you might find them in the wilds if you're lucky. I know I've lost my fair share of pieces after a night of machine hunting or brew hopping. No need to thank me. Always a pleasure to help out new strike players. Now, if you feel like playing a real game, I've got plenty of other boards. I could even teach you a few more tricks if you're up for it.
Thanks. I'll think about it.
I knew I'd make a strike player out of you yet. How about this time I tell you how to use a board's terrain to your advantage? This one's got all the different terrains you can encounter in a game of strike. Knowing when and how to use them can mean the difference between victory and defeat. Terrain mainly affects your machine's combat power. As you know, when fighting an opponent's machine, you compare its combat power to yours. The higher your machine's combat power, the more damage you can do. So finding the right terrain is an essential strategy for overpowering your opponent. Here, I'll show you. Grab that piece to your left and move. Now let's take a look at your machine's combat power. Combat power is the sum of a machine's and the value of, since your machine, it's also standing on 4, add those together. My machine is it's also not attacked, so my combat, this means, go ahead and test it out. There you go. Now, choosing, it can also grab your other piece and, since it's standing on grassland terrain, this terrain has a value of 0. This means my machine can't use their, but they have the higher. They're standing on forest terrain. This means now, the front of this means that the spot, which means my machine gets an extra point, giving it a total. If we compare the combat, you'll see that you won't be, whenever you're unable to, you can still choose to attack. Go ahead, try it. Ha, see? When you break a machine's defenses, you can knock it backwards. Sure, both our machines will receive 1. All right, as we've seen, the higher the terrain, however, there are 2. This is what we call a chasm. But it'll take away 2 combat points if you do. This is marsh terrain. Landing on it will take away, it'll also keep your machine from moving. Here, let me show you. Grab. See? All you can do now is wait for your next turn to move again. Or you can overcharge your machine to get out of there. You can still attack any nearby enemies so you're not completely helpless. Well, I think that's enough yammering from me for now. Promise it'll all come. Here for more tips? Why don't I tell you a bit more about the pieces we used to play? In a normal game, each one is worth, and you can spend up to 10. Knowing what each machine, building an army is the key. When assembling your first and foremost, you can never have more than 4. With that in mind, how far they can move, but a real strike player will be looking. Let's take a quick look. All right, let's talk about the different ways in which, in other words, if you look at you can also tell by a melee type machine attacks the first enemy with it. We've seen this plenty of, so just move that piece forward. Great, now grab your... Looks like we've got ourselves a gunner-type machine here. This means they'll only hit the farthest enemy in their attack range. Let's move that machine so we can take a look at... Let's go with this piece first. This is a ram-type machine. Attack like this. See, now my machine has taken over your machine's spot on the board. This is your opponent if they... Looks like we have one... Now this is a beauty of a piece. A dash-type machine. When it attacks, it'll move to the end of its attack range. Every machine in its path, including your own. So make sure you take a good look at the board. You should also make sure it's able to finish its attack on an empty spot. Otherwise, you won't be... Here, I'll show you. Look, it even rotated your piece. A nifty little piece if you look at your note, you'll notice this particular machine has one of, there's quite a few of those, but I'm pretty sure I think that about... This is gonna be fun. Come up. Your turn. I got a tough fight ahead of me. My turn. That's it for me. Ah, looks like I lost. this. Time to make my move. Board's all yours. Well, that's done now. Time to get serious. Your move, Red. That was a surprise. Okay, let's see. Yes! One less piece on the board. Off the board it goes. My turn. Not looking good for you, Red. I won! Oh, but I'll play you again if you want. Here we go. Time to make my move. You're up, Red. That was brutal. Okay, let's see. Your turn. I was hoping you wouldn't do that. Knocked right off the board. Time to get serious. Off the board it goes. You are on a roll. You got me down to one piece. I am impressed. Now that was a game, even if I lost. Good luck. I'm glad you decided to play, Aloy. This is fun. I'm up. Board's all yours. Armor is a machine's best defense. Hey, I like that piece where it was. Knocked right off the board. One less piece on the board. My turn. That was brutal. Time to make my move. You have to admit, that was impressive. You're up, Red. Well, that's done now. I'm up. One less piece on the board. Well, that's done now. Ah, off the board it goes. That was brutal. Time to get serious. You got me, fair and square. Let's play. That's it for me. Okay, let's see. Your move, Red. Hey! Oh, that was the perfect spot! Oh, seriously? I'm up. Knocked right off the board. That was brutal. Off the board it goes. Okay, let's see. Board's all yours. My turn. Well, that's done now. That's how you do it. One less piece on the board. That's the game. You up for a rematch? This is gonna be fun. Your turn. time to make my move. You're up, Red. Knocked right off the board. That was brutal. Time to get serious. Your move, Red. One less piece on the board. Lucky me, you hit armor. I'm up. Ah, off the board it goes. That's it for me. Knocked right off the board. That's it for me. Well, spark my forge. You have beaten me on every one of my boards. Now that deserves a prize, I say. You know where to find me, Red.
Knew you couldn't resist some good company.